Well, hey there, thanks for stopping by, and if you're new to my channel, welcome. I'm Robbie Greer from Rusticated-Art, and this is Fun Times Family Art, where you get to draw along with me in the comfort of your own home. Now be sure to watch through to the end, because not only will I be giving you plenty of hints and showing you different techniques along the way, but I'll also be giving a shout out to another special channel. And hey, that channel could be yours. So what do you reckon? Are you ready to get started? Come on then. Well, today I thought we'd concentrate on getting all the pails done. Pails on the door. Well, gate or door. Probably more of a gate, but yeah, I thought we'd focus on that. There's a lot of intricate little lines going in here. Now, I don't know whether we're going to put all that in. We'll see how we go. But there's little pieces like there's nails over here. That hanging basket, that was, well, it's not there now. I may look at putting that in. We'll see. Yeah. And we've still got the bottom piece to go in and the piece at the top. Now, one of the things that when we're using the grid, when you start to rub them out, whether you're using an electric eraser or just an ordinary eraser, doesn't matter, whatever you've got, where the lines are going across, like there, for example, don't just go across. Because if you do that, what'll happen when you're shading it in, that line it'll show through. So what I do is take out more than I need to. And I'll leave the ones on the side, but I still know where the grids are. I mean, for something like this, it's not so important, but if you were doing something with a lot of detail, you know, that people recognise, then you would just take a little bit out at a time. Anyway, brush away all the crumb. And of course the grid lines, they can be confusing as well, because when they're crossing over pieces of wood and things like that, or you know, parts of the picture, they can get a bit confusing. So it just pays just to sort of have a good look at what you're doing. See how the graphite gets everywhere? Yeah, so when you're rubbing away the crumb, brushing away the crumb I mean, it does spread the graphite. So you just got to be aware of that, that's all. That'll do us for now. Just sort of brush it lightly. Although, when we draw something like this, you know, we want a lot of coverage of graphite, so it's not a big deal. Alright, well, I'm going to start with my 2B 2mm lead clutch pencil. I'm just going in just lightly, the weight of the pencil. At this stage, we're just really just doing the underdrawing on this bit, and we're just what we call blocking in. Keep the pencil flat on its side, and don't matter if we go over the lines or anything like that, because this is just the underdrawing for this bit. And it's the same old case of we'll be taking bits out, putting bits in. Now here, it's a little bit darker in places, so I'm just gonna just sort of follow the grid a bit. And come down here, and there's a couple of dark in there. You just see the grain, you can see the grain of the wood. And under here, there, a bit darker there. Once again, we're sort of using the contrast, light and dark. If I want to get a bit more detail, I use the point of my pencil. And a lot of the texture is created just from laying down the graphite on the paper. Yeah. It's quite sort of, I don't know, it's a little hickledy-pickledy all around here. It's just little sort of spots and dots. Whether that's just from the weathering, because you got to understand, in this country the weather is so extreme. The temperatures get really, really hot. And by extreme, we don't get the really cold temperatures. Yeah, cold enough to have to put to rug up a bit, but we don't get snow and that sort of thing. Ice. I think we had a couple of little baby frosts, but because we get so used to the warmth, you know, the heat in the summer and that, I really feel the cold now. I've become acclimatised. I mean, when I first came to Australia 5.5 years ago, I mean the first couple of summers, winters, I was still in my t-shirt and shorts. But now, oh, I really feel it. I really feel the cold. I want to put in the detail on the garden fork there. There's a bit of a shadow behind that, so we'll just put this in first. Block it in first. Now, I'm going to blend that with the blending brush. And it just, all it does is just sort of softens it up. Blend it, and then we'll take a little bit out, put a bit more back in. A little tombow here. It's quite light in places. Yeah, we're just creating the texture of how a weathered old board would look. We just take our time. Not exactly to the reference photo, but I'm alright with it. Yeah. Now I am going to go back to my 2B mechanical pencil. Just here. It is in sort of shade there. Underneath that handle. Put that in. And it's a bit darker in here. Trying to keep the strokes going up and down, so that way we're putting the grain of the timber in as well. And like I said, the whole surface is just a mass of these fine lines. The grain of the timber. They're barely noticeable, but they're there. They're like character lines on an old face. Weathered many a storm. I'm sure we can all relate to that. Well, us older ones can anyway. Just take your time. It's got to be a bit lighter, the actual handle. So I'm just going to put a bit more detail in, or a bit more texture in, really. And then I'll lighten it up a bit. We're not necessarily go down here until we get onto those boards that are there. So let's leave that for now. I'm just using the tip of my mechanical pencil because, as I said before, one side of it, when you're shading, that gets flat like a chisel, but then the other side, you turn it and that's a really, really sharp point. So a lot of artists will just keep turning it as they go, so that it stays the same sharp point all the time, but I prefer to leave it so that we have one real sharp edge, so that when it comes to like putting in, and you'll feel it, it'll feel a little bit scratchy, you just do it lightly. When it comes to putting in the detailed texture like this, it just makes it easier to do it. See what I mean? I don't want these lines to sort of dominate, because although they are over the entire board, pails or whatever you call them, but they're barely noticeable, so we don't want them to become prominent. They're just part of the big picture. Just slowly working it all in. It's a bit lighter there, so just take that out a bit, just so it gives it a bit more contrast. Yeah, just like that, that's what we do. And over here, the lines are still there, but we just don't want it to be as dark. And same here, just streaking along here. I won't do that bit until we get to there. Brush away the crumb. Now I could use my finer. There's a 0.2 lead on this one, and I'm just going to use that because I just want to do some really fine lines coming down here. It sort of pays to keep this one pretty straight up and down, because it's so easy for that lead to break. And we're just going to put in a bit more of this sort of blotchy areas. And when you make them dark, because I'm going to blend them, and that'll soften it up. So it's just like putting down paint, I guess, and then smoothing it over, or spreading it out. See, when we go in there and just rub that gently, see how it sort of just smooths it out and it blends it in. A little bolt there. Okay, now off camera, I decided to shade the rest of these boards in, just because we've seen it all. Now I'm going to go in and just put in some of the detail that needs to go in, and most of it is really just these lines, which, well, we call them lines, but in reality what they are is the grain of the timber. So just go in here like this. It's a bit darker around where this piece is broken away, a little bit darker, and around that hinge. I think they get a bit darker around these bits here, and I'm not sure, but I think it's because with the rain, when it does rain, the water would sort of sit on top of that for a bit, wouldn't it? And then I think what would happen is, over time, it would just get a bit darker. A lot of these textures and that are in the wood, as I said earlier, are because of the fact of the severe weather conditions that we get. I'm not talking about extreme cold, but it's the heat and the wind. I keep looking around thinking when it's cold, like you feel that wind, it just cuts through you, and it just reminds me so much of New Zealand. When it was like that in New Zealand, usually you'd look up in the mountains and you'd see snow, so you understood why it was cold. But here, such a huge continent, you sort of think, well, where is it coming from? If it's coming from the west, you think, well, it's coming from desert areas. You think, well, that'd be pretty hot. Oh, I don't really know. I'm just going to carry on like this, and I don't want to make these videos too long, so I don't know how much of this I'm going to get done. I would love to be able to finish it all, but I don't want to rush it either. So maybe we'll just leave it, we'll just finish this board and that will do us for today, I think. I mean, I can shorten the video up to virtually nothing, but then you'll see nothing. So really what I want to do is just show you as much as I can, but at the same time I don't want it to become boring or tedious, because a lot of it is just doing the same thing over and over again. And out here, this is a little bit sort of shadowy from the handle of the fork there. It's a bit darker around here and there. And this piece here is actually quite dark in comparison to the rest of the board. And here, definitely in there, it actually comes down more like that. Right, now what I want to do is I'm going to blend that. I'm just going to use my brush just to soften it. What we're doing is just manipulating it, I guess, but not as much manipulation. I mean, if we were using a blending stump, that would be really pushing it, but this is doing is just sort of softening it up a bit. Once again, just take a little bit out, create some little highlights. And it's a little bit lighter on this side and here, because when we take it out, we've got to take the highlights out. We've got to soften it up again, because we don't want it to look white, because it's not. I just brush that just fucking gently with that brush. Right, now I'm going to go in with my darker pencil here. This is a 2B pencil, mechanical pencil. Of course the handle fits inside this metal bit, the actual fork. What we do, I'm just going to just sort of shade that in. And I'm going to take it a little bit out with my kneadable eraser. Yes, I'm using a kneadable eraser these days. Well, at the moment. I came across one, it must have been in a set. Actually, one of my students, when she finished, she didn't finish. When COVID came, I had to shut everything down, and she just decided drawing wasn't going to be for her, so she gave me all the supplies that she'd bought. Good honour, really appreciated that. So in that supplies was kneadable eraser. I'm just softening it up now. What I want to do is I want to take a little bit out, give it a bit of a splotchy, rusty look, and I'm going to do the same on the hinges. But I think we will leave it here, and we'll come back, because I really want to, do the best I can. I don't want to rush it. Yeah, well, that'll do us for today. Well, thanks for watching to the end. I really appreciate that, because it really does help my little channel to grow. Well, I was hoping we'd be able to finish it today, but as I said in the video, I don't want to rush it. Another video, yeah? So I thought I'd stop it where I stopped it, and I'm happy where it's at. Now, I really enjoy making these videos, and I hope you enjoy watching them just as much as I enjoy creating them. Now, this week's shout out goes to another special channel, and the channel's called Rusticated-Artist, spreading one brush stroke at a time. Yeah, it's a channel right there. Yeah. Now, on her channel you're going to find product reviews, art lessons and tips, and she also shows you how to use easy traceables. Yeah, and I really like that, because I believe in using all the tools that are available. Why make art hard? If you can make it easier, hell, why not? She has live paintings, Ask the Artist sessions. Just ask her any questions about art and that. Yep, she's only too happy to answer for you. And she also has original art giveaways. It'll be definitely worth your while to check out Annie Tro's YouTube channel. I know you won't be disappointed. Well, that's about it for this week. So be sure to come back next week and we'll finish the whole drawing off. And if you've been following along, I'd love to see your drawing. It's not a beginner's drawing, but it's not a hard drawing either. Once you master how to use the grid, you'll have no problem whatsoever drawing it. It's just the shading techniques And all that takes is just a little bit of practice. And remember, a family that draws together stays together. Now, if this is the first time you've been to my channel, I'll leave a link up here and you can go back to the beginning and I'll take you through every step of the way. And if you like what you see, give me a thumbs up, leave a comment. I answer all your comments, and if you haven't already subscribed, it's free, and share it with your friends, because if you like it, they're going to like it too, and they'll love you for it. Anyway, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.